primary contests are happening right now in Georgia and Washington State, Mississippi.
Lynn. Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Hi, thank you so much for joining us.
I was waiting for the next shoe to drop. I don't know what was going on.
We're just waiting for people to funnel in. Sorry about
Okay.
that.
Let's help. Just exercise. Help.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Brenda, is there a link directly without having to register into Eventbrite?
Give me 1 second. Where Isabella, is that all right if the link is shared?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I was gonna say, or you could send it to me directly because Sabine
Sí, en
having
el trabajo,
trouble.
sí.
Since I'm screen sharing, Brittany, if you don't mind dropping it in the
She
chat.
she just did.
Okay.
Thank you, Brittany.
While we're waiting, if everyone would like to just drop their small business website or socials in the chat and just say hi to everybody, introduce yourself.
Okay.
Evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of a meeting. Brenda, quick question. Did you ever receive my email that I replied to? I'm not sure.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
I
All right.
received it.
Okay.
Brenda, should we get started?
Yep, I think we're good to go.
Perfect. I'll introduce myself real quick. Hi, everyone. My name is Isabella. I'm with Access Helps. If you're not sure what Access Helps is, we are a resource hub based on, it's a website-based resource hub and also social media and newsletter-based. We do all the hard work of looking up the resources and grant programs that you may need to grow your small business, digest the information and make it a little bit more readable and easier to understand for you to apply. We've been around since the pandemic and we're continuously growing and excited to continue helping small businesses around Miami-Dade County. And it's lovely to meet everyone. Thank you everyone for joining. And yeah, enjoy.
Thank you so much, Isabella. And thank you once again for the continued partnership with Access Helps and the Miami Foundation, and in particular, Open for Business. Good evening, everyone. My name is Brenda Morrison, and I am the Open for Business Associate at the Miami Foundation. I work alongside colleague of mine, Brittany Morgan, and both of us lead the initiative at the Miami Foundation. Tonight I'll also be joined by my other colleague who I also work alongside with related to this program, Maria Coto, and the both of us will be explaining and giving a deep dive into our microgrant for technology and equipment product, and also share different resources based on how you can put yourself in best position to be in good standing to get funding, whether it is for our initiative or if you want to tap into our additional partners as well. I will just say, as people are joining into the call, if you can just please mute your line. We will be accepting questions. You can feel free to drop it in the chat. And as we make transitions throughout the conversation, I'll just pause. If there's any questions that I need to elevate, I'll do so. So as I mentioned, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the application requirements, the structure, and the questions. I'm pretty sure you all may or may not be, this may or may not be your first time hearing about Miami Open for Business. And so being that this is the third and final year of the program, we really want to share with you all some great insights around how you can create a strong proposal, but also the resources that we have available for you to help assist you with your application. Okay. So for those who are joining us and you are learning about Open for Business for the first time, the great thing about it is that you are not too late to learn a little bit more about our program. So the onset of this program was created by a $20 million gift that was given to the Miami Foundation by Wells Fargo to help support historically underserved small businesses and nonprofits in Miami-Dade County. And so it has a real focus around asset ownership. And it's through our funding products that we are able to push forth business owners and nonprofit leaders to purchase critical business assets that will help create sustainability for their business and also increase the impact that they have within the community. We have partnered with Partners for Self-Employment, who handles a lot of the lending portion for our small businesses for our products. And so you will learn a little bit more in terms of how they play a role within this program. So specifically tonight, I will be sharing or discussing with you in depth our technology and equipment microgrant, which again is up to $20K, and you can purchase hardware, software, and machinery. But I did want to let you know that we do have 2 additional products as well, and we have additional info related to our website towards the end of the presentation that you can at least take some time to peruse. And if your situation meets one of the use cases for our products, you can think about applying. So we have a asset building loan fund, which is capped at 3% for profits. So it's a really low interest rate for profits and 0% for nonprofits. And we offer up to 100K. And if you are a business owner, you're a nonprofit leader on the line, and you're looking for a commercial vehicle, or you have an inventory-based business, or you have a brick and mortar location and you need renovation for your location, or if you have a high interest rate on an asset, this is a product we would definitely encourage you to check out. And there will be further opportunities to dive a little bit deeper into that product, but just not tonight. And then one of our most popular products is the collective real estate down payment assistance product, where we offer up to 500K to cover the down payment, and if available, closing costs for a shared real estate, commercial real estate a model where at least two entities come together to co-own property in historically underserved neighborhoods. We also have information on this product, and we actually co-hosted a workshop with Access Helps back in January of this year related to this product. So this is all information that you can find out on our website. There will be more opportunities to learn more about these products at a later date. But as I mentioned tonight, we're going to really zone in on our technology and equipment microgrant. So to give you a little bit of details around our funding cycle, as it pertains to the technology and equipment microgrant, it did open earlier this month on March 1st. And so you have until May 31st to be able to submit your application. Please note that if you submit the application today and reach out to us tomorrow, you will not be getting a notification or a decision, by early next week. We will not be reviewing any of the applications until the closing date, or after the closing date, should I say, and then you will be notified in July. So this is a prime opportunity to just get more information about this product, but do know that we want you to really take some time to really craft out a really awesome proposal, especially being that this is the last round. Also, if you are interested in our loan product, it did open as well on March 1st, but it will close on September 30th. So in terms of when you will be notified, it's a little bit of a smaller window than the first product, where you have between 8 to 10 days to where you will be notified. And I do want to note and highlight that as this round, as with our other two rounds, have been very competitive. And so with this being our last year, we expect to get a really high demand in terms of applications. So the earlier that you work and connect with us, the better it'll put you in position, to be able to get the funding. Also, lastly, our collective real estate down payment assistance product. The final deadline for CREO will be April 15th. So again, towards the end of the presentation, we'll be sharing resources. And again, some of these resources will help you with all three of these products. And again, in particular tonight, these resources can definitely help you with our microgrant product. So you're listening so far to what I'm saying, and you're like, Brenda, I don't know if this sounds really great, sounds awesome. I think I could use this, but I don't know if I'm eligible. Well, to be eligible for the microgrant, you have to be located in Miami-Dade. Your business or your nonprofit needs to be located in Miami-Dade County. The owner or the lead of the organization or business needs to identify with these historically underserved backgrounds, either being disabled, Black, Latino, Middle Eastern, North African, Native, Indigenous, LGBTQ, veteran, or refugee. Also, we're looking for businesses, nonprofits that have been in operations for at least 2 years. So what do I mean by that? Your business or your nonprofit needs to be registered on SunBiz. And you also, if you are a business owner, in Miami-Dade County, you need to also have a business tax receipt, being able to denotate that. And my colleague Maria will be going a little bit more in detail in terms of what we're looking for when you attach that file to your application. And last but not least, making under $1 million in either your revenue or your operating budget is important. Is an important criteria. This program is really meant to help with ensuring that businesses are sustainable. We're not looking to be able to help out the biggest of the businesses, but really those who have been shouldering the work, but needing critical assets to move their work or their product forward in the community. I talked a little bit in terms of where being that you need to be based in Miami-Dade County. But I'm gonna just preface this slide to say that if your business or your nonprofit is based out of Miami-Dade County, you are absolutely eligible to apply. However, when it comes to the scoring aspect, and we'll go in a little bit more detail about it throughout the presentation, if your business is located in these priority neighborhoods that are listed on the screen, you are able to get a few extra points during the review. If you are not in these areas and not going to be penalized, just know that based on our metrics and our scoring metrics, if you're located in these areas, you would be able to get just a few extra points on your application. And something I wanted to note here, that while again we're here for the microgrant, if I have anyone here that is interested in our Creo product, we must note that you must be identifying property within these communities listed on the slide. So I'm just going to go a little bit further into the microgrant. So I talked about the fact that this is offered up to 20K. However, something that I want to note here is that I've mentioned small businesses and nonprofits, and this is an opportunity that is offered to both. But I do want to highlight that there are two different websites that you would apply to. And don't worry, like you could see this URL here, but in the presentation, we're actually going to have a screenshot of what you will see to ensure that you're on the right screen. So small businesses apply on the MiamiOpenForBusiness.org website, and nonprofits will apply on our submittable website. Again, we will have screenshots throughout this presentation, so you will absolutely know like if you're on the right side or not. In terms of how we are going to be spending down the money, especially during this last cycle, we are looking to give out up to $1 million to about 50 to 80 businesses. And so we're giving you this ripe number here, but do know that, again, I want to notate that this is a very competitive process. Folks who have gotten funded from round one and round two will not be able to be funded for this particular product going into this third round. But that also means that we've spent about 2 to 3 years now bringing awareness to this program. So just as many folks who have gotten funded are just as many people waiting, in line to be able to put the best application in to be funded. In terms of nonprofits, we are looking to allocate about $400,000 to about 20 to 30 nonprofits split across those nonprofits. So again, it is a very competitive process, but by joining us here tonight is definitely a first step to get a deep dive into what we're looking for and what the product is all about. Something else I want to denotate here is also what our definition is, and then what the difference is between technology and equipment and machinery. So if I have any business owners on here or nonprofit leaders on here who feel and think that they need laptops, scanners, printers, cameras to be able to increase the impact that they're creating within either their business or their nonprofit out in the community, this would really be suited really well for you. If you need any software like computer programs or website development, if you are an e-commerce business and you need like a subscription to Shopify, this would be a great product for you to take advantage of, and it would fall underneath the technology aspect. In terms of equipment and machinery, they are fixed assets within your business, but they're not intended for retail. So if I have any folks who are salon owners, barbershop owners, if you need chairs within your business, this is a great opportunity to be able to take advantage of this. As well. If you have a coffee shop, if you have a bakery, this is also those items that you would need for that would also fit underneath equipment and machinery. And we've had some people who've taken advantage of this from the first 2 cycles. So if you're listening in and you're like, this sounds too good to be true, know that we have real life examples of folks out in the community, out in Miami, who have benefited from this such as Thelma Gibson's health initiative, who was able to purchase an industrial stove, a refrigerator and freezer for their kitchen. And Fruit of Life, that is based out in Overtown, was able to buy industrial beverage machinery, buy espresso maker, cooler, industrial blender. So this is real tangible assets that you can be able to acquire to help build the sustainability of your business, but also increase the impact that you're able to create in the community. And so before I pass it over to my colleague, Maria, I do want to pause here just for any questions that anybody may have, or Brittany, if there's any questions that anyone might want to elevate, I'm willing to take the questions.
Yeah, there are two questions I've elevated for Maria to answer. Everything else I think has been handled, but let's go ahead and hear some questions from the phone.
Yeah.
Hi, I have a question.
Before you start with your question, Chivas, I see your hands raised, and then I'll go back to the person who had a question.
Yes, thank you. From my understanding, you can buy vehicles with this as well,
Not with this product. You would be able to buy vehicles with the loan product.
the loan product. Okay. All right, that's it.
All right. I'm going back to the person who said they had a question via voice.
Hi.
Hi.
I wanted to know, can I purchase like CPR mannequins, simulation training softwares with this grant?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Magna, Dr. Magna, I see your hand raised.
Yes, will this be available, like, let's say we have a storage unit or we want to get a storage unit to store equipment, would that also cover rent for the storage unit?
This would not cover rent for a storage unit, unfortunately. This is only like around like actual fixed assets, not paying for rent. So I'm sorry.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. I see Joyce Reed. I see your hand raised. Joyce?
What's your thing, my email there?
All right. I'll come back to you, Joyce. Gary, I see your hand raised.
Yes, I had a question about the tenure of the company.
Yes.
I recently voluntarily dissolved an LLC that I've been operating for over five years. I heard about this program actually, I think it was today.
Not direct deposit for.
So the same company I re-registered a month following, which was last year. And I don't know, do you guys require like some proof to show that this is just a continuation of the business, that it's still operating, there's still bank accounts, there's still websites and all of that information involved?
Yeah. Great question. Great question. I'm actually going to pass that question to my colleague, Maria Cotto. She does a lot. I would consider her to be like our underwriting queen, has a lot of just nuggets around like how we underwrite and how we underwrite, especially within this program. But I definitely pass this question over to you, Maria.
Sure. Thank you, Brenda. So there's going to be a couple questions that are going to come into play. So the first is you voluntarily closed the company, but you reopened the same business.
It's the same business. It was for financial reasons.
Okay. And it's the same business name with the same EIN number and same DUNS number.
Well, no, that's the part that I called in today about that, where I can actually get it updated, but I would need to contact SunBiz and submit my amendment form to actually get the EIN and the name changed to the old name.
Yeah. So one of the things for everybody to keep in mind is the way that these are competitive grants. So the way that our process works is everybody's going to submit an application. They're going to have until May 31st. When we download these applications are going to go to independent reviewers to review. There is going to be no communication between you and the independent reviewer on purpose. We want to keep this as fair as possible for all applicants. So what the most important thing that you can do in your application is make sure that you have provided us enough information. And there's a space where you can put additional, you can upload additional documentation if you need to, but you're gonna have to make sure that whatever you upload, when our reviewers pull down that application and then they start their due diligence, right? And part of that due diligence is, has the business been operating at least 2 years? Is the business Miami-Dade County based? All of these, you know, these due diligence items, does it have the appropriate licensing to be able to be funded? Our reviewers are going to need to be able to get to that answer without corresponding with you. So we have to lay the onus on you to make sure that you've attached everything that we need to get the reviewer to the answer that your business is qualified to be applying.
Okay, now to that point, you mentioned in including additional documents. Would I be able to include a document with an explanation of that situation to kind of give context to the documents that I submitted? The bank statements
You
or
are absolutely
registration?
able to submit a document with an explanation, but understand that what we're really going to be looking at is your old company with
Right.
whatever that EIN number, the new company with the new EIN number, and then we're going to be looking at the gap time, right? Was there a significant gap time
It was
between
only
one
a
and the
month.
other?
Yeah, it was only a month.
So make sure that you give us the original documents and the new documents, and you're more than welcome to submit an explanation, but just, we need those state of Florida documents. Those are
Got
the
it.
ones we're gonna rely on.
Got it. Okay.
Awesome. All right. I see one more hand raised. I'm just gonna take the question really quickly, because I want to make sure that I leave time for Maria to present on the rest of the slides, and also that we leave more time for Q&A. So I don't want to mispronounce this person's name. So with your hand raised, if you want to go ahead with your question, please do.
Can you hear me?
My name is Chinadu. I wanted to ask, would a forklift be considered part of this program or no?
That's a great question. From my understanding, since it has wheels, it would be considered under our loan product.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. All right. So
And Brittany's got oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Brenda.
no worries. You said Brittany has additional questions?
Yeah, so Brittany has elevated 3 additional questions for me, so I'll go ahead and I'll answer those very quickly before we move on.
Okay.
The first one is, what if your organization is filed in another state but operates in Miami-Dade County? Here, what you are going to provide us in those additional documents is proof that you've been operational in Miami-Dade County for the minimum of 2 years. You can do that with a lease agreement. Usually that's where we're going, but what we need to do is we need to be able to prove that you're operating in Miami-Dade County for 2 years. The second question is, what if your business operates under the cottage industry? Therefore, you do not have to have a local business tax receipt. We have several businesses that operate this way. What you're going to attach for us is that letter that you received that exempts you from the local business tax receipt. And then the third question is, do you have to have the LBT for 2 years or just registered on some biz for 2 years? So we're actually looking at it at businesses that are operational for 2 years, not just registered for 2 years. So one of the ways that we do that for the grant, because we're only going to be asking for 1 year of business tax returns, and we'll get into those attachments, is being able to show that you've legally been able to perform your business in Miami-Dade County for 2 years. If you are not required to have the LBT, then the letter that says that you're not required to have it, that's, you know, that's 2 years old, at least 2 years old. And if you are required to have it, we are looking for the business tax license that's 2 years old. So those were the 3 questions that were elevated. I hope I answered those. If not, if I wasn't clear enough, feel free to ask the questions again.
All right. We'll keep on going. Please keep the questions flowing in the chat. As we move through the presentation, we'll keep on taking them.
I have a follow-up question to something she just answered.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I have the local business tax receipt for this year, but not last year. Could I submit my tax resale my tax resale certificate for the last 2 years.
Were you operating in Miami-Dade County for the 2 years?
Yes.
And you weren't required to have the business
I'm not
tax?
aware that I was required to have it, and I got it this year. But I mean, I have bank statements and I have tax returns. I have all the other things.
Okay, so what I would advise you to do is in that like additional document section, upload what you can show a reviewer that
Okay.
you were operating in Dade County for that amount of time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sure. So, thank you, Brenda. So, moving forward, I want to introduce you to the application websites. So, applications for the Miami Open for Business program are accepted online only. There are two separate websites. One is for the nonprofit applications, one is for the for-profit applications. So I would advise you guys to take a quick screenshot, even though you'll have access to these slides following. For the nonprofits, the URL is Miami Open for Business submittable.com/submit. And for-profit organizations, it's miamiopenforbusiness.org/microgrant to get you specifically to the applications. So these are two separate websites. One is for nonprofits on your left. On your right, you're going to see the one for-profits. Applications are 100% online again, and all of the attachments must be attached before you hit submit on your application. You cannot submit your application and then email us later some attachments because we're just not going to be able to attach them to the application. Your application isn't going to get reviewed in as favorable a manner as it could with all of the attachments. On the website, you're going to notice that there is an application checklist. So one of the things that we encourage everybody to do is to in detail read the application site for details such as items that you can purchase, items that you can purchase, the qualifications for the business owner or nonprofit. And then we also have a checklist. So you can download this checklist and you can start to put your documents together even before you apply. So we absolutely have that resource available to you. It is on the website. We definitely encourage you to use it. We want to make sure that you're on the right track to apply. If you've got any questions or are unsure as to what we mean by something on the checklist, we have technical assistance providers that have been engaged in order to assist you. And we also have ways for you to contact us on the funding team if you've got a simple question that you'd like us to ask. And as we move further into the presentation, we'll go over how to reach out to one of the technical assistance providers. So here's an overview of the microgrant application. So some of you on this call will have either received a grant last year or will have at least applied for a grant last year and maybe not been awarded. And you'll notice that this looks very different than what you saw last year. So one of the things that we took into account is all of the feedback that we received from our applicants and our awardees, and we've tried to make the application more user-friendly. So you'll notice that you're going to be able to download a PDF, a blank PDF of the application, so that you can see what all the questions look like in advance. You'll also notice once you start navigating the website that you can now jump ahead, right? So before you had to answer all of the questions in order as they appeared, now you can actually jump ahead and you can see the entire application. What you cannot do is hit submit until you have completely filled out the application. So the site isn't designed to allow you to hit submit until all of the required fields are filled in and all of the required attachments are uploaded. However, you can scroll through the different sections and you can see what the questions are. Maybe get with your business partners if you have business partners to get their contact information, their names, their additional information, so that you have everything ready and available to you before you start applying. If you cannot complete the application in one session, not to worry. One of the things that you're going to do at the very beginning of your process is you're going to create a username and password. Once you do that, the application is going to save under your profile and you're always going to be able to access it. If you applied previously, you can use the same username and password. If you don't remember what your username and password is, send us a quick text on the text line and we're happy to reset it for you. So just a quick overview of some of the application sections that you'll be able to take a look at more in detail when you start your application process is we're looking for basic business information. So things like the address, the industry, a brief overview of the business, what it is that your business does. One of the things that we really encourage people to do is to tell us about their business as if the reviewer doesn't know anything about your industry, because the reality of it is that we're going to have independent reviewers who are not going to be experts in every particular industry. So we need them to understand what it is that your business does, how these funds would be invested, and how these funds are going to take your business from where it is right now to where it is that you want it to be. So be as detailed as you possibly can. We're looking for information, demographic information on the owners, contact information, race and ethnicity information, gender information. It's important to keep in mind that while we ask race and ethnicity and gender information, and there are points assigned to this because we are trying to serve the most underserved of our populations, they're like our final decisions are not made based on things like race and gender. We have application narratives. So for this particular, for any of our, for at least our loan, our ABLE loan and our microgrant product, we've decided not to ask individuals to have a business plan prepared. We thought it would make it more accessible to the general business population here in Miami-Dade County. But what we did do is we designed 3 narrative questions. And if you're going to invest a significant amount of time, I would invest it in these 3 narrative questions. So there's a question where we're asking you for background on your business, and you'll notice that there's sub-questions under these questions. And for those of you who've completed a business plan, you'll notice that the sub-questions are very similar to some of the questions that we ask you to fill in on a business plan. And it's really designed to help our reviewers understand your business. So the background, there's a purpose question. So the purpose, how are you going to acquire the asset, implement the asset, and how is it going to affect your business? And then we have a social impact question. Again, all of these questions have sub-questions. Make sure that you hit all of the points under those questions to get the maximum amount of points available. There are some very specific points in the application process that are going to be assigned to employer firms. So firms that have not only employees, but who have employees that with quality jobs. And if those employees with those quality jobs are also members of underserved populations. So you're going to have an employee roster available to you. While you're not going to upload the roster, you're actually going to type in information for each employee. You are going to want to have this information handy when completing the application. And then finally, the purpose of the grant is very specifically to acquire assets. So as we not only score applications, but look at the dollar amounts that we can assign to very high scoring applications, we do so based specifically on the asset, the cost of the asset, right? I'm sorry, was there a question? Maybe not. Okay, so if there was, just drop it in the chat, we'll get right with you. So since the purpose of the grant is to acquire the asset specifically, we're looking for the specific costs of the asset, how you're going to purchase the asset, and then the purpose of that asset in your business. The 3 narrative questions that I mentioned before, that, like I said, if you're going to invest some significant amount of time, do it here, is in your background. So including your background, very specific things like the product and service that you're selling or providing, who your target market is, how your target market is going to benefit or how your target market benefits from the product or service. And then under purpose, like I said, these are how you're going to be investing the funds. Make sure that you hit some of the, the highlights, including how the asset is going to be used within your business, your plan for meeting increased demand. So a lot of times acquiring an additional asset, if you're acquiring a new pedicure chair and you have a salon, You're going to be acquiring that pedicure chair with the idea of bringing in additional customers. So what's your plan to meet that increased need? Are you hiring additional staff? Are you extending the hours of that staff? Like what's your plan? And then how is this asset designed to help your business reach its future goals? And then finally, under social impact, some of the things we want to make sure that you hit are basically like, will this, what are the social impacts of getting this grant? So are there going to be new jobs created? Are existing jobs going to be able to be retained? If it's existing jobs that are going to be able to be retained, are you going to increase salaries? Are there going to be more benefits made available to your existing employees? Are your goods and services now going to be made available to a larger population, or be made available in a community that may not already have access to that? So we're looking for and social impact is going to be different for every business. What we want you to keep in mind is that we're not necessarily looking at social impact from the lens of you giving something away to the community, but how you can impact that community in a beneficial way. So some of the required attachments. So we've tried to simplify this as much as we possibly can to make it as accessible as we possibly can. So we're looking at your last business income tax return. For some of you, that business income tax return is going to be on a Schedule C on your personal tax return with an attachment C. Submit the entire tax return with that attachment. For some businesses, it's going to be a Form 1120. Whatever your tax return, required tax return for filing is, that's what we're looking for as an attachment under tax return. We are going to be taking, of course, the numbers on that tax return and taking a look at them for viability of the business. And then we're also asking for a 12-month projection. So some of the things to keep in mind here is we've asked you 3 narrative questions, and you've given us some information about your business, some information about how you're going to be using the money, and then some information on long-term impacts for the business. We want you to make sure that when you put together your 12-month projections, they make sense with the narratives, right? What oftentimes happens is somebody will write the narrative, and then when we're looking at the 12-month projections, in the narrative, they said they were going to hire 2 people, but the projections don't show the anticipated expense that comes along with hiring 2 people over a period of time. Or they'll say that they are purchasing a $10,000 widget maker, but there is no line item accounting for the expense that goes along with the purchase of that $10,000 widget maker. You are not required to use our financial projections worksheet. We do have a template on the website that you are free to use should you want to use it. What we do require is that it be detailed in this format. So what we cannot or what we won't accept is a 1-pager that says salaries $10,000, operating expenses $20,000, and overhead $5,000 as your financial projections. We're looking at a 12-month income and expenses so that we can see the flow of dollars, and we can see if the way that you find your financial projections actually coincide with what you've told us in your narratives that you are going to be doing. So one of the main questions that we get asked repeatedly is, how do I create a very strong proposal? So we want to go through some of that with you. And we've purposely made the scoring transparent, right? This is not a secret. We want you to know exactly how your application is going to be scored so you can prepare accordingly. So there are some areas that we're going to provide points in that are considered background, right? And these are things that you may not necessarily be able to control. So they're weighted much less weight than your proposal and asset part of the review process. So we provide points 1 to 3 in each of these sections. So we're looking at the owner's representation of historically disadvantaged communities. You'll notice that most of our questions say select all that apply. So being truthful, of course, we want you to select all of the qualifiers that you self-identify with. If you have paid employees with quality jobs, of course, there's going to be points attached to that. If your business Sorry, the host muted me. If your business is located in one of the historically underserved communities, there are some points that are going to be attached to that. And then, do your employees also reflect historically disadvantaged communities? So these items, like I said before, because they are items that you may not necessarily be able to control, but we do want to make sure that we're touching the most vulnerable of our community. These are weighted a little bit smaller in the point system. So these are a 1 to 3. Then 1 to 5, which is of course weighting each of these sections higher. We're looking at strong financial capacity. How are we doing that? We're looking at your tax returns, we're looking at your financial projections, and we're looking at your plan to acquire the asset and deploy the asset within your business. We're assigning points to how you've explained the goods and services and how those benefit the community. We're looking at funding projects or assets that are going to help you transform your business. So we're looking at how is this asset, if you're able to purchase it, going to transform your growth trajectory. We're looking at organizations that have a strong organizational capacity. So how are we looking at that? So do you have the team in place, or do you have a plan to bring the team in place that's going to allow you not only to continue operations, but to grow your business now that you've been able to acquire an additional asset? And then do you have a concrete viable plan to acquire and deploy the asset? So do you know where you're going to buy it, how much of it you need, how long it's going to take to get here, and then how you're going to deploy it, and then what that's going to turn into for your business? So do you have that concrete plan, and were you able to articulate that plan as part of your application? So this is how we're going to assign points. So as you're completing your application, keep this as kind of your like little cheat sheet item off to the side that you're looking at as you complete your application. So there are some common reasons why applications don't score highly. And some of those just generally are disregarding the eligibility criteria. So we've been very clear, right? Under $1 million in revenue. The person must be in a the owner or principals must represent a historically disadvantaged community. The business must be based in Miami-Dade County. The business must be in operation for at least 2 years. If you submit an application and we cannot clearly get to you being eligible, that's the easiest way to score, below the threshold to qualify for a grant. Another item is we've been clear on exactly what's allowed. So requesting funds for items that are not allowed under the grant, we're not going to go back and say, hey, these items aren't eligible, resubmit, because that's just not how the grant application is designed. It's designed to be competitive. So those individuals that follow all the criteria are the ones that are going to score. And then lack of specificity. So keep in mind that the reviewers probably know very little, if anything, about your industry. So putting in that you are going to buy a V850, let's say, if the reviewer doesn't know what that is and can't equate that back to the narratives and the financial projections, you're just not going to score as high as another one. And then, of course, we are looking for applications that can really articulate all of the narrative questions, but really articulate impact. So with the narratives, we have purposely made the space available to you, not limited. So how a lot of grant applications will say, tell us this in 250 characters. we've purposely not done that because again, we want you to explain these things to us in a way that if somebody knew nothing about your business, they would be able to understand what it is that you do and how it is that you're going to implement these assets. So applications that are going to score high are those that are going to be really specific, are going to tell us exactly what it is that they're going to purchase, how it is, what their strategy is, how it's going to affect their business long term. And then businesses that are very, generic. I'd like $100,000 in order to continue to grow my business. Like that doesn't tell our reviewer enough information to know whether or not this asset makes sense for your business, first of all, right? If you are running a lawn business, but you want to buy a blender, you're gonna have to explain that to our reviewer. And something as generic as this just isn't gonna get our reviewer there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that welcome knowledge, Maria. And I promise you all, we're definitely gonna open up the floor pretty soon for questions. But while we're here on the slide, I want to encourage you all to take a screenshot of this slide in particular. These organizations we have contracted to work alongside us to provide hands-on technical assistance in your respective community that you identify with here on the slide. We have a countywide nonprofit technical assistance provider that is Radical Partners. And then we also have a countywide for-profit technical assistance provider that is Florida State Minority Supplier Development Council. You are not limited to just go to the one that you identify in the community that you are in. You are free to go to multiple, but these folks, these organizations, these agencies are here to give you hands-on assistance with the different aspects of the application as Maria kind of listed out. And so with the opportunity that you all have to jump around and check out what's in the sections within the application, it would be a great time for you to get connected on our website and book an appointment with one of these technical assistance providers, and they could walk you through step-by-step, section through section, in addition to those attachments that Maria mentioned that you would have to provide to us as well. And also something that we have done within the last cycle, and we're continuing on with this cycle, is that we are having application parties with each of these technical assistance providers. So primarily if you reside in the North Dade area, you can connect with a few of our technical assistance providers on April 3rd at North Dade Regional Library. We're still determining the time, and we'll have a QR code that will allow you to get connected to our newsletter so that you are absolutely up to date when we have identified the time and have a registration link ready for you to register. If you are in the Central Dade area, Wednesday, April 10th from 1 to 3 p.m. at Converge Miami is where we're going to be hosting the application party. Again, we're going to be having the registration information on our website in addition to our newsletter. And last but not least, if you live in the South Dade area, you want to connect with our technical assistance provider out in that area, on Tuesday, April 16th from 2 to 4 p.m. at the Miami-Dade College Homestead campus, you'll be able to work alongside them on your application. This is a good opportunity as you're working through your application or still considering if you want to apply to get that hands-on assistance. So as a reminder, we said this at the top of the webinar, but want to let you all know again that the microgrant is open now, and it'll close on May 31st. In terms of when you will be notified, it will be in July. And for these other two funding opportunities that we have, be on the lookout for a info session that we'll have related to the ABLE products. So the loan product. So I know I had a couple people ask about the use cases, and we referenced you all to the loan. We will have an information session soon to come related to that. And then also there's more information related to our Creole product. Last but not least, if you have been listening to all of what we have shared and you're like, man, this is great, but I don't qualify as of yet, have no fear. The person in the organization that we have co-hosted this webinar with is here to help assist and bring a myriad of resources to you as small business owners, no matter where you are in your journey. Access Help does a great job of aggregating a lot of the resources across the Tri-County area. So please make sure that you check out their website and get in tune with what other partners within the small business ecosystem have to offer to you. And then last but not least, please scan this QR code. This will get you subscribed to our newsletter for any additional information that we have related to our offerings or any of our partnership events. And so I will stop sharing my screen here, and I will at least want to be able to give some time to you all who want to be able to ask questions. Feel free, you can raise your hand or ask the question in the chat. And so I see everybody on Hollywood Squares. So I see a hand raised from Gannett. So go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, my question is actually about the ABLE loan.
Yes.
How long do you have to pay it back if you get a loan?
So it is over, it is up to a 5-year period of time. It really depends on how much you're borrowing out. On our, from what's a little bit different from this year versus the past couple of rounds is that we've actually bucketed out how much you're able to borrow based on your needs.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Sabine, I see your hand raised. Sabine? I'll go to the next hand, Stanley. Stanley, you're muted.
Yes, just a quick question about the cash flow XLS sheet. Is that downloadable?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and it's on the website.
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Welcome. Anthony, I see your hand.
Yes, if you own a nonprofit and a for-profit, can you apply both applications situations?
Yes, you can apply for both. Being that we want to ensure that everybody gets a slice of the pot. You're in this one particular cycle, like it'll be either or that would be funded in this opportunity. They wouldn't be funded both in the same cycle.
Okay, second question, I may have missed it, but the deadline for the for-profit is May 31st.
Yes, and the nonprofit as well.
And the nonprofit as well. Great. And didn't get those websites before you were taken down. Do you have a general contact number where I can get more information without bothering you here or wasting your time?
No. You're not wasting my time at all. My colleague Brittany just dropped the link in the chat to our Contact Us page. You'll be able to see a text line that you'll be able to text us of any questions, and there's also a call line as well for us too. The contact sheet that is on the Contact Us page, we also readily respond to those as well too. Awesome.
Well, thank you.
No problem. Natasha, I see your hand.
Yes, I have a question. On the information page, it asking for the website, and it wouldn't allow me to move past the website. Is it a requirement?
Say that for me one more time.
So to do the application, the first page for the profile,
yes,
there is a star for the website, first to put the website for the company, and it won't allow me to move to the next slide until I put up my website.
Might direct that question to Maria.
Yeah, so that should not be a required field. I'm actually making a note to test it as soon as we get off today. But go ahead and put in some dummy information. It will let you move forward though. It will let you look at all of the sections, and it will let you enter information in other places. But I will take a look at that shortly after we get off today's call and make the correction if needed. But no, a website is not required.
Okay, thank you.
Stanley, do you have another question, or your hand is just still up from the last question?
My hand is still up. I'm sorry with that.
No worries.
Go ahead.
No worries. Am I missing any questions in the chat?
There's been a lot of action in the chat. I think one of the questions that I wanted to make sure that Brendan Maria answered out loud is about marketing, whether marketing expenses go towards technology. It's a really fine line. And so do you guys mind explaining that out loud?
Absolutely. So it is a fine line where if you are looking to do like marketing in terms of an online newsletter, maybe through MailChimp, maybe through Constant Contact, there's an opportunity. If there's like a year-long subscription for that, that would fall within our in the realm of the technology aspect for the microgrant. However, paying for personnel to like actually do the marketing is not included within the microgrant. Barbara, I see your hand.
Even if that person would be an employee or a contractor that would do the work for you?
Unfortunately not. It does not pay for personnel at all. It's just the asset, and the asset would then be like the actual the newsletter software that you would utilize, not the person like implementing it.
Right, or subscription.
Correct.
Right, got it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, Brittany, that you see?
There have been a lot of questions. Let's go ahead. I do see some more hands raised. And so folks who watch this recording will be able to see the the questions answered in the chat.
Awesome. All right. I see, I don't know your name, but I see iPhone, so you could go ahead.
Yes. Right. Okay. So Brenda, just shout out to you, to YPN president, y'all amongst royalty here. Yes, I am so grateful to be here, but I was trying to get logged in, rushing from work. I wanted to know, how do I get, I heard, I believe it was Stephanie, Brittany, someone mentioned something about a recording. Am I able to get the recording or the PowerPoints to kind of review and kind of catch up?
Yeah, so so I'll be able to send all of the attendees an email through Eventbrite with a link to the YouTube. But also Access Helps is going to be posting it on their YouTube page along with Miami Foundation.
Okay, thank you so much. Truly appreciate it, ladies. You did amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. And just a note too, if you all are subscribed to our newsletter, you will also get the recap there as well too. We will be embedding it on our Open for Business website. So the website we've been posting in the chat, you can stay tuned to that. So when you go to the microgrants page, you'll then see like a green button that'll pop up with a recording as well. Awesome. And then I see another hand raised as well.
Hi, thank you so much. Quick question. So are folks who apply asking for more than one asset class are going to be scored, given a lower score than folks basically just asking for one asset class? Or I just wanted to make sure like more than one thing can be requested, or are there really priorities in terms of what assets specifically can be requested?
That's a really good question. So no, if you were to ask or request for more than one asset, you would not be scored lower than the next person. We really kind of hit on and try to be very transparent too, with where our scoring metrics look and how we gauge, what's a good scoring application. So it's really dependent upon how well you bring together the narrative of the assets that you're trying to acquire. So it can be multiple, and multiple is not looked down upon. We actually welcome it a lot. If you really do your research, you can really find a good bang for your buck, with you having the opportunity to then, request the full 100K. I do want to give the preface though that while you do request the 100K, it's not like absolute like, yes, we're going to fund you for the full 100K. We've stressed throughout the presentation that it is a competitive process. And so we're trying to spread the pot around from who has applied and, based on the quality of applications that we get, and also matching the documentation that you have to provide, that will kind of really determine what the price point, you will get in terms of what you request. But we definitely encourage you, based on how many assets you can identify that still fall underneath or up to the 100 or the 20K, excuse me, that we definitely welcome that.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I see a question in the chat and I want to emphasize it again. Yes, there's definitely a requirement to submit quotes for the asset. We want to really identify what specifically that you're acquiring, and even knowing like what's the vendor that you're looking to acquire it from. We ask that folks get the base price and not a sales price, because depending on if you were to be funded, the sales price can be different, by the time you actually get the funds and are able to then acquire the asset. And also it allows, if you are a for-profit, this is going to be very beneficial for our friends at Partners for Self-Employment to be able to kind of push and do disbursements for the funding. And yes, they can be online quotes as well. We have a template within the application as well that you can utilize to standardize that quote, so you don't have to submit like multiple Excel sheets for it. But we definitely require those quotes. All right. Nicholas, I see your hand.
Hey there, how's it going? Thank you for this incredible presentation. I had two questions. The first one just had to do with, I guess, like experimental organizational structures. Are you all kind of interested in DAOs or UNAs or cooperatives when it comes to the review process? And are those like, I guess in the past, have they ever been funded, or is that some type of like increase of score, or just like non-conventional, like I guess, bartering agreements and things like this? Just parallel structures to the legacy one and traditional ones that we're used to.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your question, Nicholas. I'm going to say something here, and I'm going to give the floor to my other colleagues to expound a little bit more on it. But I think there's a great use case related to co-ops for our loan product. And so that's actually a use case that we've had now since the implementation of the program. We've gotten maybe one like off the ground with it, so we're open to more opportunities with that, but I think it would really be a good use case for the loan. So Brittany or Maria, you want to chime in here as well on this question?
Yeah, I'll just answer quickly. We do prioritize, helping with worker co-op conversions through the ABLE Loan Fund. We prioritize collective ownership models in the real estate product. For the grants, I think the one place where you'd be able to call this out would be within the social impact, social benefit section. Like, this is what separates you or creates, separates you from other applicants. And then also when you describe the team, there's a question about the team, the workers, the folks who deliver. You can also mention your non-conventional management structure there as well in the narrative. Is there anything you would add, Maria?
No, for the grant, it's there's not additional point systems or additional points attached to these non-traditional ownership models. However, the fact that you've got multiple owners benefiting from the asset and the growth of the business as a result of the asset, I think that's where you highlight that in the social impact.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for all those responses. And then the second question that I had just had to do with data collection. So I guess for those that don't get accepted and then those that do, what's the retention on that? And is that data sold? Is that retained? Is that intellectual property that belongs to Wells Fargo? How does that work in terms of the Bureau of Statistics and yeah, just how that functions?
Brittany, you want to take a stab with
Yeah, I
it?
can take that. So the first thing that I'll share is that Wells Fargo doesn't get access to any individual level data with this initiative whatsoever. Wells Fargo gets aggregate data on, X number of entrepreneurs were funded with the following demographic breakdown. Internally, your data is used by the Miami Foundation, by Partners for Self-Employment, by a third-party evaluator called Behavioral Science Research Institute, BSRI, and some of our technical assistance providers. Technical assistance providers are business support organizations. They're all 501c3s that are helping businesses with their application. So if you do remit an application to Miami Open for Business, you agree that those entities will have access to your data at the individual level. However, all of the technical assistance providers are required to sign a data confidentiality agreement to make sure that there's no irresponsible sharing of that data. But to confirm, Wells Fargo is not engaged in much of the initiative except for awarding the initial funds.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for clarifying that.
Yeah, good question. Thank you.
Hey, any more questions? I know we're like 10 minutes over time, but I'm all right with that, with giving y'all time to ask questions.
Yeah, we had a hand raised. Go ahead.
I have a
Go ahead.
Question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so it is my understanding that the distribution of the fund goes directly to the vendor, assuming that you're purchasing equipment. It doesn't come directly to the recipient, right? It goes to the vendor. Am I correct?
It goes to the vendor when at all possible. There are instances where a vendor does not accept a third-party payment. So let's say that you were purchasing from Best Buy. Best Buy does not accept a third-party payment. In that situation, the funds would go to you as the business owner. The business owner then is required to, within 30 days, acquire the asset and provide us proof that the asset's been acquired. So a receipt, proof of payment, that sort of thing.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
And Chinindu, I know you had your hand raised.
That was actually my question.
Oh, okay, awesome. Any other questions, Natasha?
Yes, I just thought about this. So I sell jewelry and I have a lot of accounts that's only for someone in the trade. How would you handle that? Like, would you send us the payment and then we could do that? Because I know Maria talked about if they don't accept third-party payments. Because only like if you have a resale license.
So I'm sorry if I misunderstood the question, but you're going to be purchasing product. You're going to be purchasing an asset.
Yeah, like equipment, like a diamond
A piece of
tester or
Okay.
ultrasonic, stuff like that.
Yeah, as long as it's a piece of equipment that's going to stay in your business, it does qualify under equipment. And if it's a vendor that's not going to accept a third-party payment from us, then yeah, absolutely, we would transfer it to you and give you 30 days to acquire the asset and then provide proof that the asset's been acquired.
Oh, I just wasn't sure, like, because I know that they're not open to the public, so that's what I was thinking when you mentioned about Best Buy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Timothy, and then Anthony, I'll go to you.
Hey, how's it going? How you doing?
Doing good.
So I had a question. So basically, we're a security agency, and we use a platform basically to get leads for different clients looking for security services. And basically, you have to buy credits to then acquire the lead. Is that something that we would able to use the funding for?
I apologize.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? You're purchasing the deed to what?
You basically purchase credits to purchase leads. It's basically clients put in requests for security, and you have to purchase the lead.
Oh, you're purchasing sales leads, like, got it. I don't know that qualifies as an equipment asset or a technology asset. That sounds like a sales development, sounds like data, but Maria, what do you think?
So, in a situation like this, I don't like you'd have to help the reviewer get there. Like I can't get there on my own. So I don't see how that I don't see, right? And I'm not an expert in your industry. So this is where we tell people, you know, be very clear, talk to us as if we're not in your industry. I don't see how that is, but I mean, sell it to me, basically.
Okay, definitely.
Is
Thank
it
you.
a
I appreciate it.
technology? Is it an equipment?
Gotcha. Thank you.
And I am having some technical difficulty on my end, so I cannot type. I should be embarrassed to say that we're giving technology grants out and my technology isn't working. But just to answer a question that came up in the chat, yes, the grant funds must be transferred to a business account. So while we're not asking you for business bank statements as part of this grant, we do as part of the loan, please run out and open a business bank account. In the event that you get funded, we're not funding individuals, we're funding businesses. So we would be transferring dollars to business bank accounts.
There's also a question in the chat around if there are any issues that would require the business to return funds. Is there an agreement in connection to the grant?
So there is an agreement in connection to the grant because Maria is just one of those people. Yes, so in the event that you do not acquire the assets that you've agreed to acquire within the amount of time. So we say 30 days, and that's what you're going to sign off on. Sometimes we understand that it takes longer than 30 days. The onus is on you as a small business to communicate with us, tell us, hey, you know, my widget maker is coming from you know, Timbuktu, and it's taking me longer to acquire the asset than I thought. You still have to acquire the asset. So in the event that you do not acquire the asset and cannot show us proof that the asset is acquired, then yes, the funds are repayable.
And along those lines, too, I have another question. Assuming that you have submitted a request for a particular piece of equipment, and given the fact that you had to maybe purchase it before the grant is given, assuming that you're successful, can you substitute the equipment that you purchase with something else along the same line that meet the qualification?
So one of the things that closing is the only thing that you're gonna do in person in our office. And as part of the closing, you're going to see, these are the items that you put down on your asset acquisition list. If something has changed, right? So let's say that you no longer need a widget maker, you now need a printer. You're gonna disclose that to us in advance. We're gonna adjust that proposed use of funds list that we're actually gonna check against when you submit all of your receipts or when we actually make the asset purchase on your behalf. So we need to know in advance of, because if we're buying something on your behalf, we need to know what we're buying, right? And if we're gonna anticipate proof of purchase from you, we need to know what that looks like.
Okay, so you say definitively at the closing, that's when everything becomes final.
That's when everything becomes final for a couple of reasons. One, like you said, maybe somebody needs, you know, there's a different need, or they no longer need something, or they saw something else. What we cannot do is change that dollar amount. So if you needed a $20,000 widget maker and now you need or you needed a $10,000 widget maker and now you need a $20,000 widget maker, that dollar amount is not going to go up.
Got it.
Can we give an example from last year? Somebody applied to have outdoor dining equipment, but at the time of disbursement, their street was still under construction, and there's no way that outdoor dining equipment is going to be deployable. They instead pivoted. They still received the same funding amount, but they were able to purchase a convection industrial oven, an ice maker machine, et cetera, because the quality of their application, the entity, the business, et cetera, remains consistent, and we're funding the business.
See one more hand raised.
I have a question to piggyback off what Maria said, but the other way around. So let's say you purchase an asset, but now it's on sale. So it's cheaper than the original amount. Do we need to then give you the difference back?
So that would cause Maria some heartburn because she's got to do all kinds of accounting. So in that situation, what we'll do is we'll say, okay, your printer was on sale. Do you need a scanner to go with that? And you could give us the information for the scanner. You can buy the additional scanner and still acquire assets up to that maximum dollar amount. If you're going to go over the dollar amount, that's fine. Like, that's going to be your responsibility to pay. But we're looking at you spending the entire grant amount on like assets that you applied for.
Thank you so much.
All right, I think that covers it for the questions. One more, Natasha?
Yeah, thank you. So I just thought about, I was also looking to get some sample, like silver engagement ring bands and wedding bands. They wouldn't be for sale. Is that something that I could also use? Because I know it could look like an asset for sale, but it's to go to like trade shows to show samples of what we can make to clients.
So this is where when you do those narratives, you're gonna have to be very clear on the purpose of the item, because you're right. If you know, you're just saying you're gonna purchase 10 engagement rings, a reviewer is gonna disqualify that asset, assuming that it's for resale. So you're gonna have to be very clear on the purpose and use case for the items that you're purchasing, and make sure that it's understood as clearly as you could possibly make it understood that that they are considered equipment, because they are not for resale.
Like if I put that it's like a silver base with a CZ, that would show more that it's a sample versus an actual diamond.
Or you would say, you know, that this is a sample used for the purposes of sizing, or maybe somebody can use that as an example to start their own design, right? Like for people to determine how, you know, they want to redesign the ring in some fashion. So how are you going to use it? How are you going to deploy it? And what makes it not for sale?
Okay, thank you.
All right, I think this Q&A part to a close. So I want to thank each of you all again for joining us tonight. Thank you so much again to Access Helps for co-hosting this with us. And please look forward to the recording that you all will get. If you were able to register on Eventbrite, you'll get the recording. If not, feel free to like look through our website. Once we get the recording and put it up on YouTube, we will have it embedded on our website. And if you haven't already, please make sure that you subscribe to our newsletter. This won't be the last info session that we'll have, and we will be out and about in community to meet you all if we haven't already. But please stay connected with us for any offerings or updates that we have related to Open for Business. Thank you all again for joining us. I hope this was rich and informative for you all, and I hope you have a great night.
You guys did an amazing job, like you always do. All I can say is follow directions. It's simple, it's very detailed. Don't pay nobody to do this. You know your business more than anybody else, and you know what your business needs. So be specific and strategic. And the fact that you have the application in advance to go over it, just do that and guarantee you will win. If your back office not in order, meaning your numbers, talk to your accountant to help you get there. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Yasmin.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
This was excellent. Thank you.